Hello people, this is Sonali, the Melodramatic Bookworm. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new to my channel, welcome to the Melodramatic Bookworm family. I'm here today to talk to you about my December 2021 wrap-up. I read 11 books in December 2021, the last month of 2021, and it's a relief, a little bit of a relief to actually see that year go. But yeah, I read some great books this last month. A couple of them were disappointments, but it's okay. I can't expect to love each and every book that I read, right? So let's not go there. It's going to be a bit of a rabbit hole, but without any further ado, let's dive right into this video and let me share with you all the books that I read in December 2021. The first book that I finished in December was The Authenticity Project by Claire Pooley, and this was such a great book. I mean, it made me feel things. This is the story of, wait, can you see this? Okay. This is the story of Julian Jessop, who is sort of fed up with how life is going, and he takes things into his own hands. He starts the Authenticity Project, which is a sort of a journal in which he writes down his life story, and he puts it on the counter or a table at Monica's cafe and hopes that someone else will read it and someone else will follow up with this project. And now Monica, the owner of that cafe, finds it and she loves the idea of that, and she writes her own story, and so it begins this whole journey, and it keeps going to places that they probably didn't think it would. And a lot of the concepts in this book about being true to yourself and about taking into consideration the other's feelings as well and not making decisions on another's part are so important, and I learned so much through this book. It's been a pleasure reading it and also a great learning experience. Yes, I did feel that the writing was a bit dragged, but I also think that it sort of made the writing or the details that were mentioned in this book made for good reading, good, interesting, intriguing, important reading. I really loved it, and I would definitely recommend if you are up for this sort of thing. It's great, it's amazing, and one of my favorite books of 2021, and I'm so glad I read it. Next up is a book that I started in November but ended up finishing in December, and you've already seen a vlog of it, the Nonfiction November vlog, in which I read 3 nonfiction books, and this book in question is Squareestan by Parmesh Shahani. Parmesh Shahani works at Godrej, and he is one of India's most most famous LGBTQ plus personalities who fights for LGBTQ plus rights. And in this book he talks about LGBTQ plus inclusion in the Indian workplace and how important it is, especially for Indian queers who don't find a lot of acceptance at home, and how important it is that workplaces start becoming inclusive. I've spoken in detail about this in that vlog, so please go check that out. And I really like this book. It's very informative and it talks about a lot of things that plague Indian queers and how Indian workplaces can make themselves better in order to help them out. The author has also taken the responsibility to educate us about basic LGBTQ plus terms as well. He didn't have to, but he did, and there's a whole chapter dedicated to that. Throughout, there are statistics, there are examples, there are people that he has interviewed and he has talked to about inclusion and why it's so important, and overall a good nonfiction and an important, educative, informative book that you should definitely read if you're looking to educate yourselves on topics like this. Next up is Something Strange Over the Yellow Lotus by Ashish Rathod. This is the first in the Frank Carter series, the complete saga, and this follows Frank Carter, who comes to live in an area called the Yellow Lotus along with his parents, but he soon discovers that this place is cursed. And so what he has to do is that he has to travel back in time with the help of a sort of sorcerer kind of person, and he has to try to undo what has happened so that he can live in peace in the future. So there's a lot of time traveling and all happening over here. The concept is good, but it's the execution that I have a problem with. The language isn't that great. There are a couple of loopholes, and since time travel is such a dodgy thing, and we've seen in so many fiction books that there's a lot of problems associated with time travel, that there's going to be a butterfly effect. And in this book, the way the author has simplified everything, it doesn't sit right with the whole concept of time travel and all. I've done a full video review of this book. If you'd like to go check that out, link will be here as well as in the description box below. Next up is another duology that I was a little disappointed by, and that is the Spin the Dawn duology. And I must say that I did like Spin the Dawn, but Unravel the Dusk not so much. Spin the Dawn is about Maya Tamarin, who is a tailor, and in this whole universe, women are not supposed to be tailors. They cannot accomplish anything. They are supposed to be weaker. They are supposed to marry and take care of the households and all of that. But in order to serve the king, Maya has to travel in the guise of a man and win a competition, and then go on this whole quest to find certain things in order to make the dress for the emperor's to-be wife. And that is the first book. It's very snappy. I really liked how fast it went. But Unravel the Dusk, it seemed very confused to me. There's no point in Unravel the Dusk in which you think that, oh wow, this was unexpected. Every single turn, you're like, why did this happen again? Please remind me. The first book was good. The second book, not so much. I just wish that it would have been plotted out better. There were a couple of plot holes in there that I don't want to really talk about because I don't want to give away anything. It's the second in the duology after all. But memorable first book, forgettable second book, and I'm just disappointed that this didn't work. Next up is Jar of Hearts by Jennifer Hillier. I had such high hopes from this book because I had seen a Crime by the Book, Abby from Crime by the Book on Instagram, talk highly of this, and that it was really a snappy thriller kind of thing. But this is the story of a woman who 14 or 16 years after her best friend is murdered, she confesses that she was an accomplice in that murder. How her world changes, how everything around that particular incident and how her character is demolished because she has been living a normal life for all these years when there's so much had gone on back then. And it is an interesting premise for sure, but I just felt like it was way too dragged, and the reveal towards the end was very meh. I did not like it that much. I mean, the concept of using that particular twist for a shock factor. But then again, despite that, I did enjoy a large part of the story and I did give it quite a high rating, although I'm going to dial it down a bit right now. But yeah, it is not that palatable. The premise, the main concept of the best friend doing such and such thing and all of that. And yeah, I had actually chosen this on a whim and I'm glad I did to a certain extent, I think. Next up was the Bookbound Club pick for the past couple of months, but the book is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This is a story of the Sinclairs, and they have this whole island to themselves, and they are rich and they have this particular standing in society, so they are very particular about how to behave and all of that. But on one visit, something very tragic happens which changes the mind and the behavior of this girl called Cadence, who is one of the granddaughters, and how people's behavior towards her changes and how they are trying to keep her from finding out what exactly happened so that it doesn't affect her even more. It forms this entire story, and that twist towards the end was like jaw-dropping, and I loved this one. It was so good. I mean, it does take some time to get into, but the reveals that happen, it keeps you on your toes. It is very engaging. It's very fun to a certain extent. I mean, of course, that particular tragedy is nothing to have fun on terms of, but then again, this whole story about familial relationships, about generation gaps, and about how racism could happen to anyone who's not white, and it's a lot to take in just like 200 plus pages. E. Lockhart has done a fabulous job of bringing it all together. And I'm really excited to discuss this with Shruti and Meera, and who actually were behind this book, and they were like, you read this book, it's going to be so amazing. Yeah, I definitely could get behind this particular story, and I know that somehow E. Lockhart, I'm going to go ahead and read more of her books. Next up are two short audiobooks that I listen to on Storytel. I've spoken about these two audiobooks in a separate video. If you'd like to go check that out, link here as well as in the description box below. The first audiobook is called The Lover by Kavita Kane, and this has been narrated by Sudhanshu Pandey, and this talks about the god of love, Kamadeva, and his consort Rati, and how when on one day Lord Indra comes to the house and demands that Kamadeva hits Shiva with his arrow, and when Shiva incinerates Kamadeva for having disturbed his penance, Rati becomes all fiery and she shows her strength and she demands that Shiva bring him back to life, bring her husband back to life. And the way Kavita Kane has shown Rati's strength, we don't see a lot of perspectives from where Rati is standing, and I loved this particular one. It's just 50 plus minutes long, and Sudhanshu Pandey has done a fabulous job at it, although in some places he's rough around the edges, but he's on the whole he's good at it, and the story and the way Kavita Kane has brought the story together is also amazing. And the second audiobook is The Seductress by again Kavita Kane, and this has been narrated by Tiska Chopra, and this is the story of Urvashi, who when dancing one evening in Indra's court notices Arjuna over there, Arjuna who is the son of Lord Indra, and Arjuna is there because he has come to ask his father for certain weapons. And when Urvashi sees Arjuna spellbound by her, she goes up to him and propositions him. But he says that he is not interested in her like that. He just wants to learn the art form of dance. Now she is furious and she curses him. And now Indra finds out that she has cursed his son, so he goes up to her and asks her to revoke the curse. Urvashi is not going to do that, and she now offers a counter sort of thing to this whole incident, and she promises to do something. And like Rati, we don't see a lot of Urvashi in the mythological fiction that authors have been writing about. It's always Draupadi or Sita. I love Tiska Chopra's narration because she has that huskiness, that charm, and the way she has spoken, it was like she was the seductress, and it's really goosebump inducing to listen to, and I really had fun. Next up is Exit West by Mohsin Hamid, and this is set in an unknown country, I think. It's not mentioned, in which Nadia and Saeed, they meet each other, they fall in love, but then they have to escape because there's a war looming over the city, and doors are suddenly opening to different parts of the world, and they enter those doors and suddenly end up somewhere else. This is a story of immigrants and immigration and the whole experience and xenophobia, and how people just cannot seem to accept the fact that the whole world is one place, and if people are moving from one place to another, there's a reason why they're doing so. But while this book is an easy read, it's not a great one. It sort of slots immigrants into one slot or the other, and about how bloodthirsty they can get when they are all in the same situation. It sort of defeats the purpose, I feel like, and I was not a huge fan. I mean, it's not bad, like I said, but then again, it just feels like the author tried to make the sentences into paragraph long sentences. It doesn't need to be like that. It's just 10 sentences combined with conjunctions, and it just keeps going. It gets pretty jarring and annoying at times. Other than that, it is still easy to read. It's like one big stream of consciousness novel, a stream of consciousness account, whereas it actually is not when you look deeper into it, or even on the surface you can find that. I'm not a huge fan of this book, but I wouldn't say that this is bad either. Last up is Villains Never Die by Nick DeWolf, and oh, I had so many hopes for this one. This is the story of a girl who ends up blowing up a warehouse, and then she comes back home and she's trying to figure out what to do. But she now encounters people who are trying to catch her, and super villains and heroes and this whole thin line between what's right and what's not. And it's so fuzzy, this whole concept. I mean, it's abrupt. It snaps like from one point to another, and I can see why people love it, but it was not for me. The main character that we are talking about, she's just rolled around from one place to another. She's just going along with everything that's happening. She's supposed to be the main character. Give her some of her own volition. Give her some of her own power. If she has superpowers, make her use it, make her get control over it or some such like. And also the whole story, the plot line, it is so blurred into one plot line after the other. It's very confusing as to who is talking what, where is this stuff happening, why is this happening. Okay, why is this happening I can still understand through the dialogues, but where is this happening, who is saying this stuff? I mean, I get the concept of supervillains doing things and having reasons for doing things, and superheroes not always being superheroes, it's just being mollycoddled by the press or something like that. But just demarcate the stuff, like where events are happening. You don't cut away immediately. Give some clarity as to who is talking what. This was a huge disappointment. I was so looking forward to laughing and enjoying myself reading about supervillains and superheroes, and though the reveal at the end was great, I just felt that this was not my thing. Those were the books that I read in December 2021. Which of these have you read? Which ones do you want to read? Which ones did you read in December 2021? Which ones were your favorite of your December 2021 reads? Which ones didn't you like? Which ones were disappointments? And what are you reading in January 2022? And what are your 2022 plans? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you like this video, please like it and share it to spread the word. And if you like my content and would like to see more from me, don't forget to hit subscribe and click on the bell icon beside the subscribe button to get notified as and when I post new videos. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Until next time, keep reading, keep watching, and add melodrama to your life.